But you know what? I'm happy because I know the next speaker is going to agree with me. It is all about the money. She's a chartered accountant. Nonkululeko Gobodo, she's the executive chairman of Sizwe Ntsaluba Gobodo. You know the firm. It's the largest audit and accounting firm in South Africa. Also, of course, she has the record that will never be taken away from her, the first female black accountant in South Africa. She started her career at the University of Transkei. That's where I got my my studies as well. And I'm sure you would have been serving under Professor Nkutlu. Wiseman Goodfrey, who is the first black chartered accountant. He was her boss. Well, she, of course, when she left the university to begin her articles, KPMG in the Mthatha office, joined the Transkei Development Corporation, whose building is, back in the 80s, it was probably one of the most recognizable buildings in Mthatha, TDC building. Senior manager in finance, left TDC in 1992 to start accounting and the practice now. She had a vision to start a medium-sized black accounting firm as opportunities opened up after 1994. Founded Gobodo, of course, in 1996 and left Gobodo, got involved in BE companies, and she has served on boards of listed companies such as Nail was mentioned just now. I'm sure you had something to say about what Ipeleng was saying about Nail. Imperial FinTech Banks Appeal Board. I tell you what, it's a long CV. And of course, she was part of a few South Africans who went on a 5-week program run by Merrill Lynch and Georgetown University in New York. She is going to talk today about how to succeed in finance. It's all about the money. Nonkululeko Gobodo.
Entrepreneurship is just such a critical topic for our country right now, because I think we have to change mindsets. We've been schooled to believe that, you go to school, go to varsity, find a job, and that's your life. Or we've been schooled to think you just need contacts and you make big deals and become a billionaire overnight. Or you have contacts in government, you get tenders, you can get tenders in 5 sectors, you don't have to establish businesses in those sectors, and you become a millionaire. So this whole notion of starting your own operating business and going through the pain that they spoke about, it's not something that we're used to. Can I have some water? So, but it's so exciting now that we're realizing that not selling this whole issue of entrepreneurship is a mistake. At least the conversations within the country have changed. I'm hearing, our own leaders now talk about we need black manufacturers. We need, to develop our small and medium-sized sector and all of that. You can put it here, thanks. And all of that. And for me, that is very exciting. When we're talking about us starting our own operating businesses. Because if we're going to cater, you see how angry people are in the streets. They're very angry. This whole poverty issue is something that we need to deal with. And there is no way that we're going to address it if we don't have the majority of our people establishing their own businesses that are going to grow, even when if they start from small to medium-sized to big in the next 20 years. That is the drive that we need to see. So I'm really excited, and I want to encourage you to say you started this, you mustn't stop. We spoke about perseverance here. Next day it will grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Because the more we talk about this thing, the more we're going to change mindset. I don't know how much time I've been given. So what I've decided to do is today just talk about my journey. I mean, I'm a chartered accountant. I won't even want to bore you with that kind of business. And as I share about my journey, you will see all the things that you heard about this morning. You'll be able to identify them in the journey, because I think we need mentors. We need to hear from people who've done it, so that as we start, we know the pain. Oh, okay, this is what they spoke about. You go through pain, you don't die there. So then we persevered out of that. I'm one of those who are fortunate to have grown up with a family that were in business. My parents were my mother was a nurse, my father a teacher who went into business. And so as a young person, I was helping in my father's business, and my mother's business, and all of that. And then, fortunately, also I grew up in Transkei. So their businesses evolved into more formal businesses. My father had a panel beating shop, so I was there, working as a bookkeeper. When I got exposed to chartered accountants and auditors, Professor Ngotlu came to, they were our auditors. That's when I realized that, I don't want to be the doctor that my father said I should be. I want to be a chartered accountant. My uncles were in business in Transkei. There were a lot of black people who were in business, who owned hotels, garages, and things like that. I grew up in an environment where being an entrepreneur was natural. So it was natural for me to dream that one day I'll have my own business. And so, fortunately, I found what I wanted to do. I started articles at KPMG. That's when this whole idea of having my own practice was birthed. As I was walking up and down those passages, I thought one day I'm going to have my own practice. So when my colleagues were complaining about we're being used and all of that, work according to how much we're paid, I said, no, one day I must have my own practice. I must learn as much as possible. At that time, you can imagine doing articles as a black person who didn't get opportunities. I created my own because I had this dream that one day I'm going to have my own practice. And fortunate enough that they offered me a partnership 8 months after articles. That is a rare opportunity, not even in today's terms. No matter what color you are, that would be offered an opportunity to be a partner. I toyed with this idea for a while, but I then realized, no, I have a dream of having my own practice. And I needed to prove this to myself that as a black person, I could succeed in doing this. I was not going to take it easily out. So I went back to my bosses and said, no, thank you very much for the offer. Sorry. Then I had to leave because really, there was no point in me continuing there. I went into TTC. Destiny will always open doors for you. Again, the move to TTC was actually excellent. I was in a development environment where we're assisting people go into business in terms of finance, support, and all of that. So I was in that environment. So you can imagine, this dream now is really brewing. I'm being empowered and equipped. So I got exposure to other aspects of business, right? And even there, I created my own opportunities. I would run projects that were not meant for me because I had to learn as much as possible. And again, as I said here, destiny will always come. Something will push you towards your destiny. So something happened that I realized, now it's time now for me to pursue my dream of starting my own practice. So you can imagine, you're a young person, you're saying you're going into practice. People say, are you crazy? How are you going to compete with the big 8, the KPMGs of this world? And I realized that, they were expressing their own fears. I had no such fear. So I would say, no, this is one thing I'm going to do. When they couldn't persuade you, then they would say, no, but this is lecture part-time, I said, no, I'm not going to lecture part-time. I'm going into business to succeed. If I were pushing of a part-time lecturing position, there's no way I'm going to fight to succeed. So I started, it was myself and my PA. I got 100,000 loan from TTC, which I paid in 3 years. Yes. So I started there. And when I started, I decided to do consulting. I didn't really like auditing, so I thought, I'm not going to bore myself with auditing. I'm going to do consulting. And you must understand, when I went into business, I had a network, people knew me. I had worked at TTC. A lot of my clients at that time were entrepreneurs who wanted to go into business So I was helping them establish their businesses, applications. So everything that I'd learned, I could use, as I started my business. I was part of a bus, I had contacts in Johannesburg. I got onto programs. There was a Canadian organization that was financing black manufacturers. So I had a lot of black manufacturers who were my clients, and my fees were paid by the Canadians, because cash flow is king when I started a business. But after a while, I realized that this whole thing of consulting business was risky, because you may have a project today and not have it tomorrow. So I thought, as much as I hate auditing, I need to include auditing as part of my service offering, because it's stable. You have this client for 5 years, and you know that you're making fees of 100,000 from them, or whatever it is. This flexibility that they're talking about, because you've got to be able to see how you're going to succeed or fail, and factor that in, because cash flow is important. This is what I always say, that when you're starting a business, you don't want to do many things. The one thing that you want to do is the one that's going to generate as much cash flow as possible, and from there then you can expand and do the things that you love, or the bigger dreams that you have. What is going to generate cash flow is number one, because if you can't generate cash flow, you can't sustain your business, and therefore you can't remain in business. So I was able to have that flexibility. And I tell you, including auditing was the best thing, because that's how my business really then grew. And it took 18 months for that business to be stable. You went through that pain of not knowing where your salary is going to come from and all of that, but you persevere, because you believe in this dream. You believe that you can succeed. There's not even one day that I ever thought of quitting. So when you see that pain, don't quit. You don't die from the pain. You actually learn from the pain. And I was doing auditing, which I didn't like, but I will do whatever my business needs to be done, because I intend to succeed. Again, 18 months, we're doing well, whatever. So the business grew from those 2 people to 2 partners and 30 clerks. Wow, wonderful. And then as opportunities opened up in South Africa, I thought, now this is time to expand. They had their cushy jobs, they're chartered accountants, they're earning a lot of money. I was saying, I must leave this and risk it to establish a business I'm not sure is even going to succeed. But eventually I persuaded them. But the important thing is that, 2 is better than 1. As black people, we need to understand this thing, that we cannot succeed on our own. Because I have gifts that you don't have. And together, we can make a success of this. And just because I'm the entrepreneur, I have the courage to go into business and all of that, I needed those partners. Others were very good auditors, which I didn't want to do. And others are good at managing the operation and all of that. We need all of us. You can't say, because I'm the deal rainmaker here, I'm the one who brings business, so I'm important and all of that. Let's stop this thing. And I appreciate the fact that it is when we work together that we will succeed. And so, overnight the business grew from that 2 partners and 30 staff to 10 partners and 200 staff with offices all over South Africa. Imagine, the more you take that step and you succeed, the more you feel confident that you're going to succeed, right? That's how Gobodo Incorporated was born. And then we're able to do all the other things that we're not able to do. We're able to add other services like forensics, consulting, IT, internal audit, and all of that. Then, of course, we need to understand that when you want to go into business, choose something that you know, that you've been trained in, that you've been exposed in, because you stand to succeed more when you do something that you know. And I'm not saying when an opportunity opens up, when an opportunity opens up, don't go for it. I'm not saying that. Because opportunities come once in a lifetime. But make sure that you learn as much as possible. because that thing of knowledge, you know, actually helps you to succeed. And so I've stuck to things that I understand. I branched out and I realized that you must just really stick to what you are good at, because that's where you're really going to succeed. And so Gobodo Incorporated then merged with Sizwe Ntsaluba Gobodo to have what we have now, Sizwe Ntsaluba Gobodo, the 5th largest accounting firm in South Africa, with now 50 partners and 1,000 staff members. I want to say to you that whole factor of perseverance. No matter how much Transnet wanted to empower black people, no matter how much Melrose wanted to empower black people, if we didn't have a large black accounting firm that can do the audit of Transnet, they couldn't do it. So we need people who are going to start the small businesses, persevere and grow them, as we heard here today, to make them size to large. You know, we have to start somewhere. And we have to persevere in the journey. And we have to diversify and make the right decisions that will help us to sustain our business in the future. That is so critical. And now our dream is to be indeed the big player in South Africa, to be a big player in the continent. We're already doing a lot of work in Africa, and to be a seriously global firm in the next 5 years. That's what drives us. So your vision must grow. You know, it must expand within yourself, and you must identify those opportunities that will take you there. So keep saying we're part of this association of accounting firms called Motseng International, and I've been saying we've been part of the association for a while. Let us see whether it's going to be the vehicle that is going to take us truly to be global, because we've got similar sized and thinking firms there, some in China, in India and all of that, whether we cannot position ourselves with the Buddhist countries and really become a contender for the Big Four. I'm thinking about that now. I live it. When I talk about it, do things happening tomorrow, but it's the thing that, you know, keeps me alive, because when you arrive here, you've got to think of how do I get there. When you arrive here, you have to think about where do I get there. It really saddens my heart, the fact that we have foreigners who come into, sorry if there are foreigners here, I have nothing against foreigners. We have foreigners who come into our country, whether they're from Africa or Asia or Europe, who come in to start businesses here, whether small or big or whatever, and employ our people. You know, and we can't do these things ourselves. It shouldn't be like that. We should be establishing businesses and employing foreigners. You know, so we need to reverse this thing, because it's not healthy, it's not good. And I want to say also, this whole issue of black people can only establish small businesses and medium-sized businesses. Yes, we have to start there. We have to support small and medium-sized businesses. That's where we started, right? So I have nothing against small and medium-sized businesses. But we have to also understand that being an entrepreneur doesn't only mean that you start a small business. We are fortunate in South Africa that we've got many people who've been exposed in various sectors. You know, you've worked for a bank for 20 years, or you've worked for a manufacturing company, pharmaceutical manufacturing company for 20 years. Those people have gained experience, they have a network, they even internationally and all of that. Those people are in a position to start really serious big businesses. And we've seen these businesses start in South Africa, like the Mnet of this world, Outsurance. When did they start Discovery? When did they start? Now, when you were already born. Yeah. You know, so, and they've become big players in our country. And there's black people who have the experience now, we've had the exposure. There is no reason why we're not thinking like that. And I'm really excited that at least our own leaders now are pushing us, you know, because we really need to encourage those people. They were saying whether entrepreneurs are born or mate. I believe that there are people like myself who may be natural at this thing where you have the courage to go into business anyway and don't have that kind of fear. But we have also those people who can have the confidence to go into business because they know the stuff. They've been doing this for 20 years or 30 years. We need to encourage those people to step out. I know, as they were saying, the risk factor, they're quite comfortable. You know, they have arrived, they have these responsibilities. But the more we talk about these things, the more we will prick their consciences to go out. Because we need to establish these big businesses. And, you know, I had this vision of a big accounting firm, and I was, again, convincing people, you know, we can do this. Hey, we've been medium size for a while, we're comfortable, we know this, you're asking us to move again, you know. It was not because I wasn't fearful, it was not because I wasn't thinking, hey, we already have this, why do we risk it? And I'll share with you. So you go and sell this, anyway, eventually I swayed them and they agreed. But then, even if you have agreed, they've agreed, in their minds they're still medium-sized, you know, they will still want to do things medium-sized. So are we going to have the courage now to go for the Transnet of this world on our own? And the tender is out. I remember I was overseas at the time, I'm getting this phone call. Nonkululeko, what are we going to do? Are we going to tender on our own or jointly with the Big Four as usual? I'm like, no, we're going to tender on our own. And people are fearful, you can feel the fear all around you. You know, you go into your hotel room and you're fearful yourself. You just pray and say, you know, we have to do this. If you say you are big and we behave the same way we behaved all along, then, I mean, how are we going to move forward, you know? And you must understand that why I'm fearful is because I've been talking to people, board members of this organization and all of that, and they look you in the eye, my sister, and they say, we raise bonds overseas. Looking at the time. We raise bonds, I'm finishing up. We raise bonds overseas, and how are you going to raise bonds with the Sizwe Ntsaluba Gobodo signature? Please be realistic. Don't think we're ready, man. 5 years. I'm saying, no. I'm very sorry. This is the time. I'm not waiting. We're not waiting 5 years. We've moved forward. I'm moving forward. We are not waiting 5 years. So when these calls come, are we going to tender on our own? I remember the conversations with the board members and CFOs. I have that ringing in my head. What if indeed this market is not ready for us? You know, so we have to take the risk. Risk everything that we have, that we've built, you know, and lose it all because of a market that is not ready. Sometimes you have to push the market to be ready, you know. And wow, they were ready. They were so excited when they took the decision. But they're still fearful. Will they do it? Even the minister, you could see he was checking on how are they doing a Transnet, or doing excellently a Transnet. They went on a bond issue. It was 8 times oversubscribed. 8 times with a Sizwe Ntsaluba Gobodo signature. So don't listen to people who are trying to discourage you. You know, if you believe in yourself and you believe it is the right time, and timing when you start a business is everything. And we moved to start this big firm at the right time when the thinking within the country was changing. Thank you.